In Asia's rapidly evolving digital landscape, the need for robust digital resilience has become paramount. As the region grapples with a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment, or VUCA, often characterized by technological disruptions, geopolitical tensions, and economic uncertainties, organizations and governments must be equipped to withstand, adapt, and recover from digital shocks. Digital resilience, or the ability to maintain business continuity and secure critical infrastructure in the face of cyber threats and system failures, is a crucial enabler of sustainable growth in Asia's digital economy. Recently, Future CIO spoke to Mr. Vishal Gariwala, Senior Director and CTO for Asia Pacific at SUSE, for his take on how digital resilience is evolving in an uncertain world.
Digital resilience essentially is the ability for an organization to adapt, respond to, and maintain its critical infrastructure, services, and critical operations, and be able to withstand all of these disruptions, which could be coming from cyber threats or other types of disruptions. Essentially, to a non-IT person, what that means is that whatever operations you are doing digitally or transactions you are doing digitally are able to continue and they are not disrupted. And today it's becoming top of mind imperative for executives globally for a very simple reason. We have today almost all of us doing a lot of the transactions that we used to do physically. We are doing it in the digital realm today. And what that means is it's very important that the technology that is supporting a lot of these digital applications are resilient, because if they go down, you will not be able to access the services. Think of it, an outage to a bank literally can mean you do not have the ability to withdraw cash or do financial transactions. And that can have a dramatic impact to a lot of us, right? So that is why digital resilience is becoming so important to a lot of companies today. The first one that comes to my mind, which I've seen a lot recently, is technology outages, which could be due to hardware issues, software bugs. It could also be due to power outages. And that's not good, because an outage means your electronic service is down. The second threat that comes to my mind, no-brainer, cyber attacks. The supply chain attacks, for example, that particular type of attack has grown exponentially over the years. So has other types of attacks that utilize malware. Ransomware is becoming very rampant. But something else that I noticed that is very scary is the availability of services as a service for cyber attacks. So you have things like ransomware as a service, DDoS as a service, DDoS as a service. So cyber attacks can be just outsourced to a third-party organization, and they will basically execute all these attacks on your behalf. That is the second threat. And the third threat that comes to my mind will be third-party threats. For example, if you're using a cloud provider and if that goes down, that will also impact your resilience. Or for that matter, business directions that certain companies make. For example, they merge with another company or somebody else buys you. That could potentially mean that a roadmap for a technology that you're using could become obsolete, and that will also have a major impact on how resilience is treated within your organization. So many governments globally have already started forming regulations and acts to address this concern pertaining to digital resilience. And what I've also observed is that certain industries are prioritized. For example, financial sector. So let me give you some real examples. There is an act called the Digital Operational Resilience Act formed by the European Union, which requires financial firms to be able to withstand and recover from disruptions which could be due to cyber threats, physical threats, outages very quickly. And financial firms need to be able to do that. That's a requirement. Then if you look at the United States, there is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which has an internal department that is specifically focusing on providing guidance on how they can maintain the very highly critical services that the United States leverage on. And then very close to home, back in Singapore, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is also the Central Bank of Singapore, includes a set of business continuity management guidelines for financial institutions to be able to, once again withstand disruptions that could be resulting from IT outages, pandemics, cyber threats, and physical threats. So these are some examples, and there are a lot of other countries, for example, Hong Kong, UK, Ireland, who have similar types of acts and regulations to tackle digital resilience. I think from a technology angle, it is imperative that we leverage technologies that are secure, that are open, and that are interoperable, so that you have the flexibility to choose a variety of solutions and as well as adapt easily when you need to, because resilience ultimately is about how quickly you are able to adapt from something that has an issue to something that will be able to support you in your requirements. And SUSE as a company, we spend a lot of time building solutions that are interoperable to help you, just do that, have the choice to choose solutions that will help you meet your business requirements as well as your resilience requirements. So I think from a technology angle, that's going to be very important. From a process angle, while I say that digital resilience is important, but obviously there's a cost attached to it. So as a first, it will be important for companies to relook their entire digital footprint to understand what is truly critical. For example, for financial companies, for banks, the ability for an end user to withdraw money is extremely critical. If that function goes down, well, that's going to be a major nightmare, right? So likewise, let's look at the entire footprint of all the digital services and applications that we have, identify what is mission critical, and then what we do is then create alternative stacks, so that if one stack fails, you could actually run this on another alternative stack, so that you don't have outage, you don't have downtime, right? So from a process angle, that's what you can do. And the third one I think is very critical. From a people angle, we need to make sure that we not only have in-house capabilities to support us, but even more important, as you know, in today's world where software is primarily driven by innovations in the open source space, a lot of companies leverage open source, and that is fantastic. But I also see a lot of companies trying out open source projects using their in-house skills, but they do not have an expert third-party principal vendor to back them up. And that's going to be a problem because that directly go against the principles of digital resilience. So my thinking is that companies should really start looking at projects which, number one, has a strong community base. Number two, projects that has a principal vendor. And number three, if you are going to be using these projects, make sure that you have a subscription and support from these principal vendors, so that they'll be there to support you and meet your digital resilience requirements. I would say that don't put all your eggs in one basket. And what I really mean by that is not ending up in a situation where there is software concentration, which literally means that you just have one particular provider for your software, for your solutions, for your services, because that can become the single failure point, right? So diversify, but at the same time, the way you should diversify is really looking at the criticality of the services, right? And what the other related point, right, about not going all in is also making sure that whatever solutions that you are going to be leveraging as part of your overall digital infrastructure also gives you, like what I talked about earlier, the freedom and the flexibility to have an estate and an IT estate that can function in a distributed manner, leveraging technologies from multiple providers. I would say that would be my one major advice that will really help you move the barometer when it comes to strengthening digital resilience.